Love, Victor with Season 2 continues to not only be a very entertaining show, I really like this show, but also a wonderful and important resource for LGBT teens who are either coming out or not quite ready. The show really steps it up in Season 2, not shying away from current difficult issues, and Anna Ortiz has a powerful, scary, but important role playing a mother whose religious beliefs make it very difficult for her to accept her son. But hopefully, seeing her character's mistakes will help real-life parents realize how damaging those mistakes are. And if they tragically still make them, on the flip side, their LGBT teens will be ready for those mistakes and how to stand up to them as Victor does. But still respectfully. Victor is a really great character. I really like him. I like all the characters on this show, to be fair. Now, of course, some LGBT teens deal with much more difficult and horrific ramifications when they come out, which is so tragic, really, really sad. And I know that sometimes the stuff like Love, Victor would be criticized like the Love, Simon movie was for, maybe showing a vanilla look at what these experiences are like. But I really think that Love, Victor Season 2 deserves credit for going as far as they do. Not shying away, again, as I said, from showing the difficulties that can arise, but at the same time, proactively offering up strong, realistic solutions. I really loved Love, Simon. I thought that was such a great movie, and I was really disappointed that it didn't have a bigger audience and that it didn't get a lot of support. That was unfortunate. For instance, PFLAG, which is a big part of Season 2, is a real support group for parents of LGBT children. And I've put a link down below to their website if you would like to find a local chapter. They seem like a truly wonderful organization. Now, Season 2, here's a little bit of a wrinkle with Season 2. Now, Season 2, since the writers and producers knew going in to the show that it would be now on Hulu and not Disney+, they have really leaned into being able to show more adult content. So much so that I feel it makes the show not appropriate for many of the teens it's supposed to be helping. I think it age gates it. Love, Victor Season 2 focuses so much on sex, both with LGBT and straight couples, and not just thinking about sex, but having sex. And so little, it's not just the focus on sex, but it's so unbalanced. What about the other aspects of teenage life, like schoolwork, college, career goals, hobbies, family, beyond some of the issues that are being dealt with here? I mean, it makes the show, I think, for 18 and up, to be honest with you. Maybe 15 and up. But for instance, also, you couldn't really watch this, I think, comfortably with parents. And that's a shame because I think it's, again, so helpful. So I feel like the show keeps itself from being as helpful as it can be to younger audiences because of some of the more adult choices they've decided to make. And Hollywood, in terms of LGBT content, is rapidly expanding, so it's not like that those stories aren't available somewhere else. Like Looking was an amazing show on HBO. You can go watch that if you want this kind of more adult content. And there's, obviously that show it's no longer around, but there's lots of shows at this point, and many coming down the pipeline that you can focus on. And I feel that because this deals with teenagers, underage characters coming out and dealing with that, it should be something that underage viewers can watch. I think that that's important. I mean, part of the times I would wonder who they felt the show was aimed at. I mean, if it's aimed at older viewers, I still think older viewers would want a more balanced view of the characters. And I also feel that such a strong focus on sex undercuts Victor, who is an incredibly and wonderfully dynamic character. And works to go against some of the stereotypes in media about what LGBT people are. For instance, Victor's continued passion and talent for basketball and how he deals with the problems with his teammates after coming out is really groundbreaking for how LGBT characters are depicted in mainstream entertainment. So I would have loved to have had even more of that. That was a good example of where the show could totally go. Now, of course, as we all know, Season 1 ended on one heck of a cliffhanger. You're like, I can't believe you're going to end it there. When Victor came out to his parents before the show cut to black and said, you better hope we get a second season. Thankfully, they did. Whew. But now I regret to inform you that season 2 ends on also a cliffhanger. And I'm like, oh man, you better get a season 3. And I worry that some of the issues with the show could maybe keep it from getting a season 3. And I need to see what happens. The show also adds a new LGBT character at Victor and Benji's school, Anthony Caven's Rahim, a fellow student who's more like Victor than Benji, which I thought was a really nice addition. He hasn't come out yet, and he is a Muslim, so he's an LGBT person of color and also has a religious family like Victor. I absolutely love this character. What a talent, how likable, how great, such a great addition to the show, and we will talk more about him in the spoiler review. I don't want to give anything away. As for Victor and Benji, a lot of you are wondering what their relationship will be like in season 2. Oh man, so much drama. All the characters are thrown into a ton of drama. I have never seen so many relationships implode at once. I'm like, is there something in the water? What's happening? At some points, it seemed like a bit too much, in fact, contrived by the writers to create soap opera tension. But thankfully, the cast is so strong, and the characters that they're playing have been created so well in the first season that I think they withstood that. So Michael Cimino and George Sear they're still fantastic. It's great to see two leading men as an LGBT couple in Hollywood, because often, up to this point, LGBT romance has been depicted as comedic or supporting characters. I Love Victor season 1 came out at the same time as Harley Quinn season 2, and I commented at the time how great it was to see these leading type characters in LGBT relationships. It's really fantastic. Also, in one of the episodes, Benji does a dance with the other people who are dating members of the basketball team to cheer on their loved ones, and it was really fantastic. George Sear did such a good job with that. It really put a smile on my face. It was one of my favorite moments of the season. We also really dive into Felix's situation with his mother's mental illness, and Anthony Turpel does a great job fleshing out zany Felix. He becomes so much more than that. While Betsy Brandt makes his mother, in a much bigger role this season, feel like a real person rather than just a problem. B.B. Woods Lake also gets a lot to do with a surprising twist at the end of the season. Lots of cliffhangers at the end of this season. And while things don't get any easier for Rachel Hilson's Mia, the character remains very interesting, and I think Rachel Hilson is particularly likable as an actress. And she has her own amazing cliffhanger. Oh my God, we have to have a season 3. Mason Gooding continues to do so much with what could be just a stereotypical jock role. I mean, the writing helps a little bit, but I think it's largely Mason Gooding. And I think of everyone in the cast, I think he would be the most likely to graduate to movies, and I'm just waiting for that to happen. He's really talented. I think he has more charisma than anyone else on the show. He really leaps off the screen. Isabella Ferreira as Victor's sister Pilar also finally gets some stuff to do, and she does it really well. Her character could be expanded even more, though, and I think she will in season 3. But a big part of this season, again, is Ortiz's Isabel. Such an interesting and brave journey for that character. I could see if Hulu runs a campaign, Anna Ortiz maybe getting some awards, at least nominations, because it's an incredibly nuanced and, again, as I said, important arc. As a parent is blindsided by her child's coming out and must wrestle with what she's been taught to believe, especially by the Catholic Church. They go there. And I think that they do a good job of explaining Isabel's position without excusing it, because of course it is inexcusable. But I think it's really well done. Nick Robinson briefly shows up, but just briefly shows up, as does Josh Duhamel this season as Simon's father, returning as Simon's father at a PFLAG meeting. But the show is clearly moving away from Simon to fully be Victor's show, and I think that's also really great and important. I did feel this season was a little less polished than the first season. I was very let down by the opening credits. I hope they were just a placeholder in the screeners, because I always enjoyed watching the opening credits in the first season. They, in fact, would often change the song. It was so fun. And this, I was like, what's this? It was like always the same song. It was like really poorly done. So I hope that again, as I said, was just a placeholder. Overall, though, I once again loved Victor. My only notes for season 3, except get here soon, is that I wish the writers and producers wouldn't feel they had to rely so much on making the show sexy. Just because you can doesn't mean you have to. I mean, I think that element should be there because that's what people want to see. You have a lot of really cool characters who are, of course, involved in romances, But that's not all they should be about. These are really dynamic, as I said, really fully fleshed out characters that we want to see do a lot of things. And so I hope that is the case in season 3. But Love Victor season 2, the entire season hits Hulu on Friday, June 11th, and I highly recommend it. It's really, really great. Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.